person who spreads rumors or makes unsupported charges in a way that they become public, I think is doing a disservice to the department. And I would certainly encourage the council to implement one of their recommendations that deals specifically with the rumor and reckless charge situation, and that states that the city council publicly and openly condemn those persons both within and without the police department who make reckless and unsupported charges. I hope they do that. I hope they implement that recommendation, because to me that would have a great deal of bearing on the future of rumor spreading in this department, I think.
There's a possibility, but I doubt it. We would lose many.
Thank
you. Actually, the loss would occur as a result of the revenues that the airlines and the concessionaires of the parking lots and the valet service and so forth generate to retire the debt service of the revenue bond indebtedness.
But the revenue from Southwest operating at Love would still go in to retire the bonds at the regional airport.
Maybe not the concessionaires, we'll say, for instance, that would be required to stay at in order to provide that kind of service to customers of Southwest.
So what you're saying is you want to keep it all together?
We'll keep it one package like the federal government mandated.
Keep referring to it as a demotion. It's not a demotion. If it were a demotion, I would have reduced him from his newspaper article, which dealt with removing files, sensitive files from the police department, which is completely without
Oh, I think it's been overemphasized. There have been other bugging incidents before and since, and nothing's been done to the extent it has at the present time.
Are you satisfied with President Nixon's explanation of the Watergate affair?
Not thoroughly. I heard his speech last night, and I thought parts of it were fairly credible, but there's still something, a lot left to be found out.
Right. Why let it bother you? I mean, the Democrats have been doing it for years, and they wrote the rule book, so let him go ahead and run the government like he's been doing.
To tell you the truth, I really didn't watch it last night because I'm that opposed to Nixon.
Yeah, he convinced me he's going to take proper action. Thank you.
I don't particularly care about what's been going on, especially as people he's fired now or resigned.
Okay, how about you?
I think the explanation was a greater insult to the public than the incident itself was.
What do you think of the Watergate case? Are we getting justice?
Well, I think the president showed a lot of heart and a lot of guts last night. And when he said, I accept the responsibility, I think that he was saying, in effect, that however it's happened, that he wants to see that everything's done to try to restore all of our faith in the basic institutions of this country. That's what we all want. And the sad thing about Watergate is the fact that it has shattered the confidence of a lot of people in our basic way of doing political business in this country.
Well, anytime an officer cannot function as a police officer and can't carry out his duties as a police officer, then I think there's some wrongdoings.
Mr. Summon, what would prohibit yourself, when you were there as a police officer, from carrying out your duties, for instance?
Anytime that you became involved in some controversial law enforcement, criticism from the public, from the people involved in the violations, whether they agreed or if they disagreed with the enforcement, why then they would scream or squall, and this couldn't be tolerated.
Now, during your tenure of duty, 20 years as I recall, about the 17th or 18th year, you killed a man in the line of duty. As it turns out, the man had no police record. You mistook him for a police character. What happened to your life as a police officer from that point?
Well, I was suspended for 30 days. I went to the grand jury, and I was no bill by the grand jury, and I was then assigned to a desk job.
Why weren't you returned to the street?
Well, Chief Dyson didn't think I should be working on the street.
Why?
I really don't know.
How do you feel about being no bill by a grand jury and found innocent by a federal court jury and yet suspended for 30 days for dereliction of duty in connection with the shooting?
This is 24 people that has found no fault in my actions. And one man says that there was fault in my action. So naturally, I'm a little bitter. As I said, it was humiliating and embarrassing to me and my family. Plus, it cost me a bunch of money. It's still costing me money.
It's changed my life immensely. I have peace of mind I've never had before.
Have you given up drugs completely?
Completely. I'm here to tell you, if you have them, you don't need them. You don't need them. I'm so high on Jesus, I don't need anything.
Silver medal for the outstanding junior cadet, awarded to Cadet Fred Marvin.
There we go. There's being a real nice little girl now. Smile at him. Look over the camera. Smile at him. Smile at him. Smile in the wrong way. Turn around and smile at him.
You want to say for Channel 8 News on the Moon? Okay, that's enough.
What does the league look like this year?
Very, very strong. It's pretty scary, tell you the truth. I'm a little worried, you know, because there's some big names coming into the league, and what I've seen the press releases coming out of other clubs, they're making some very good signings. So everybody's going to be strong this year. I look to Philadelphia being an excellent first-year club. Miami are going to be very. They're not going to let what happened last year happen again this year. Atlanta are the strongest team they've ever had ever since, you know, since when I left them. They were very strong. They're even stronger than that when they won the championship. New York are going to be just as strong. The Canadian teams I really don't quite know too much about, because they're using some Canadian players, which I don't know much about these.
Well, you're opening against Toronto Saturday night. You feel pretty good about that game? You feel pretty good about the way the team's come along?
Well, we've been training. We've probably been training longer than any other team in the league. We started one a week practices in the 1st of January, and then we full-time practices from the 1st of February, and we thought we were maybe going to Peru to have some games, but we didn't go. So we may have over-practiced. I'm a little worried about that, but I think we're very ready. I know the boys are just very, very eager to get going and get some real tough competition under their belts, and I think it'll be like holding them back with reins on Saturday. They'll just be raring to get at them. And poor old Toronto. That's all we can hope for.
This is one of Dallas's more pleasant neighborhoods. In its tree-shaded homes reside many pleasant, ordinary, living, breathing people, and a couple of dead ones. Mrs. L.G. Pace, a nurse who has been in the news lately when she was fired from the Mental Illness Evaluation Center, keeps a skeleton named George and a petrified body named Sam in her basement. The skeleton came with the house when she bought it from a doctor. The body used to belong to a hobo who fell off a train.
Sam, I've had him 4 years, and he was in a carnival for years and years. He's been dead 50 years. And they had him in a warehouse in Houston. And when the brother-in-law died, they didn't know what to do with him, so they took him to Marlin, Texas, and put him in a barn. And my sister-in-law was going to put him in a ditch and just bulldoze dirt over him. And I told her she couldn't do this because it's a human being, and it's also fascinating. It's a petrified man, you know. So I brought him back to Dallas in my car.
How do you and your family feel about having a body in your basement?
They don't feel anything. The children, the school teachers have been out to see him, and school.
Is it legal to have a body in your basement?
I have never questioned it.
Mrs. Pace would like to raise enough money by exhibiting the body to have Sam buried properly. After 40 years, even Sam would probably concur. For Channel 8 News in the Move, this is Judy Hanna.
Meet Orbis, Arlington's electronic camera cop, or as some call him, Big Brother. In April of 1972, the electronic sensors on this Big Brother were set to automatically snap a camera shutter if any car came through here traveling at more than 60 miles an hour. Well, along came James Reeves traveling west toward Fort Worth. Big Brother was watching. He clocked him at 62 miles an hour and snapped his picture. And today that picture was introduced into evidence in County Criminal Court in Fort Worth, where Mr. Reeves is appealing his speeding conviction. Reeves' lawyers say that Orbis was wrong. And besides that, there wasn't a human cop here to actually witness Reeves' speed. Judge Don Burdett said Orbis cannot lie. He found Reeves guilty and fined him $125. It isn't nice to fool Big Brother. John Tackett, Channel 8 News, Arlington.
How would you feel if your family doubled overnight? Well, 2 years ago today, Mrs. Jean Ward gave birth to quadruplets, and that turned her family of 4 into a family of 8. The Ward quads have squirmed their way into Dallas's heart in their first 2 years of life. After all, they're the only set of quads in town. But you have to wonder what kind of changes this foursome has brought to the Ward family.
Drastic change. Tremendous turnabout.
What kind of changes have you had in your life since you've given birth to quadruplets?
Oh, the sleep problem, I think, is one of the main problems that we have. Like now, for instance, they are only, when they're sick with a common cold or something, it takes 3 to 4 days before you can get a nap or something in between. So I think the biggest problem has been the sleep problem. The funniest part's when we take them to get shoes. That's another problem we have. We have to write the names on the shoes before we leave the store, and the shoe clerk that's putting the shoe on have to write the names for us. They wear different sizes, different widths. So that's one of the main things that's kind of funny, I think, kind of strange.
How does your husband feel about being the father of quadruplets today?
He's still in shock. He's still in shock.
Well, how about you? Do you like being the mother of 4?
I really do. It's a great enjoyment. The greatest fulfillment that I can think of that could happen to a woman, really. The joys of seeing the kids grow up and experience the new things that they learn every day, and just being a part of it.
And now here's the answer to the question you've all been wondering about. The Wards go through 36 dozen diapers every week. Well, for News 8 on the Move, this is Arch Campbell, possibly with a couple of future Channel 8 News reporters.
Play around in mid-area. Hey, Dick.
It's probably pollinated by them. It just seems like there ought to be a tremendous opportunity for self-pollination in here. Since the male and female parts are all here, it's a complete flower all enclosed in a cup.
Way up in those cracks is where these things will be, where it's real weathered.
Whose killing jars is?
Because they live way back, because they'll dig down as far as they need moisture, and they just keep on going down.
Let me catch it.
I'm still blowing.
Where is it? Where?
Oh, there.
Easy.
Wait, let him take a shot. Let him get a shot of it.
Oh,
Get him back up in the crevice. And
it won't be a good picture if you don't catch him. I got him.
Pull him in.
Oh,
He's
there's
burrowing
cactus
in.
around here.
Did you get him?
Oh. It's a Miriam eye.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. You know it? It's a Miriam's, what? No. The lizard. What's the Miriam's lizard?
Stick to your left!
It's easy for students to sit in a classroom studying books, but to take that classroom up a 7,800-foot mountain is a bit more difficult. But that's just what 22 students from 9 Dallas high schools have done. The students are in a field ecology class, which is the only one of its type in America. They're all senior honor students who have a special interest in science. For a year, they've studied plant and animal life at the Dallas Museum of Natural History. Recently, they traveled with their instructor and museum curators to this mountain in the Davis Mountain Range near Alpine in West Texas. The trek up the mountain was not easy. The land is rocky, dry, and unsteady. For city kids, they overcame the ruggedness of the mountain for the raw knowledge they knew was there. Along the way, the museum's general curator, Charles Finsley, would stop and examine the plant life found only in this part of the country. But the students seemed more fascinated with seeking out, capturing, and studying the insects. Richard Fullington, the museum's insect specialist, would often get as excited as the students when they made a rare discovery. The thirst for knowledge can't last forever in this country. Soon you have visions of cool, rustling water. It makes a descent down the mountain pass quickly. No traditional classroom could have substituted for what the kids have learned here. They've lived, worked, and played in this rocky wilderness, and they say, and I agree, that experiencing, touching, seeing, and questioning what nature is all about is the only real classroom for true learning. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is June Gray in West Texas.